Are we voting on Mr. Samuel's original amendment?
Yes, we're
So
voting
my
same as amendment.
motion, friendly amendment to the motion on the table, which was mine, was to amend the days to read, or help me if I get this right, line 314, from 90 days should be changed to from 60 days. After the adoption of this resolution, until 90. And then everything else keeps on going that way. So, line 3, line 22, strike in April 2016 and insert the text from 90 days after the adoption of this resolution until 120 days. In page 4, line 3, after subparagraph letter D, strike the text in May 2016 and insert from 120 days after the adoption of this resolution until 150 days. Page 4, line 8, after subsection E, strike the text in June 2016 and insert the text from 150 days to 180 days. So it is now a 6-month paper, almost exactly, the same time period requested by the patrons. The only difference now is there is more than 11 days for public comment, or excuse me, not 11 days, more than 19 days for public comment.
We clear?
I second the motion.
Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry here. Can you hold for just 1 second?
Madam Clerk, we're ready.
Council is voting on the proposed amendment to item number 39, resolution number 2015-R65. As stated, Mr. Beliles previously voted yes. Ms. Graziano voted yes. Mr. Samuels?
I didn't vote.
Oh, okay. Ms. Graziano?
Thank you. I would extend this for a 30-day public comment, not for 60 days. I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Samuels?
Aye.
Mr. Agelasto?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. Trammel? Aye. Ms. Newbill?
Sorry, I want to just get a little tired here. The paper will allow for 30 days, is that correct?
No, 60.
60. It'll add 11 days total to the process.
And the closing date, again, which month?
July.
July the 11th versus June the 30th.
Aye.
Vice President Hilbert?
Aye.
President Mosby?
No.
That motion has passed.
Politics.
Now, it's my understanding that this paper needs to be continued.
Madam Clerk, I would make a motion to continue it, but I think Ms. Graziano wants to say something.
Yeah, I do, and I guess maybe my question would be, since we've all talked about this paper, since everybody's had a good opportunity to put whatever amendments they want on this paper, could we not just go ahead and pass this paper tonight so we can start the clock ticking? So I make a motion, could we move this paper forward? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, council is voting on the motion to adopt item number 39, resolution number 2015-R65 as amended. Mr. Beliles?
Is there discussion?
Madam President, I have a procedural question. Correct me, it's actually probably for Mr. Jackson. I thought we were moving forward Mr. Hilbert's amendments and Mr. Samuel's amendments. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So now we're voting on,
That's the motion that's on the table, is to adopt the paper as amended with both Mr. Hilbert's and Mr. Samuel's amendments.
Again, without any public.
I'd just like to say, I think Mr. Agelasto brought it up briefly and said, are we going to have discussion on this among council? I mean, I guess the motion means that we're abandoning getting public input on either of these amendments and just adopting this resolution. I think that's a travesty. We're a paper that we haven't had a public hearing on, even though it's a resolution. Now we've added 2 sets of amendments to it, and we're going to vote on it without. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 people here, and it's 10 of 11 on a Monday night. I just think that's terrible. I know the motion's been seconded, so we can take a vote, but I do think that council ought to discuss this at least. Maybe I'm the only one. Am I?
No.
Mr. Beliles,
Yeah, I think I agree.
Madam President, if I
Mr.
may.
Agelasto?
For the last hour, I feel pretty much disappointed in all the gamesmanship that has been on display. And it's really, we've been talking about this thing. Some people want an accelerated timeline. Some people want to allow for public input. You know, I think Mr. Hilbert's amendments were perfectly fine. I think Mr. Samuel's amendments are perfectly fine. You know, frankly, I'd like to have it so that my district meeting that I already have on the calendar in February could be the opportunity to have input from my constituents. I don't want to schedule additional meetings to review these matters. I think all the little gaming here is frankly disruptive to our working together, and council is being criticized of the 5-4 votes. Council is being criticized of not being able to work things out, and frankly, you know, at the beginning of this conversation, it was Mr. Hilbert said, well, we'll amend it and then we'll continue it. Now that's being undone after an hour's conversation, and I don't know if I can even listen to another member of council if they're going to back out of their previous statement less than an hour later. What's the reliability, the trust factor? And we're talking about us, the public body, having to believe in each other so that the public, the Richmond constituents can trust us. And I'm having a real moment right now in this, and I would ask Mr. Hilbert to reconsider, since you had been on the record earlier saying that you were going to make the amendment, it would be continued to January 11th, and I ask that we stay to that schedule since we've just had an hour conversation about it, and now we're right back to undoing it. And I think that is just, I'm repulsed.
Madam President?
Mr. Samuels?
Because motions to continue are, I believe, subordinate to the motion on the table, I don't know if I used the right word there, but basically, you make a motion to continue, and we can't vote on this motion until that motion to continue has been addressed. So if anybody, I've done all the motions for continuing, I think I can today. But if anybody else wants to make a motion to continue before a vote is taken on the actual paper, it has to at least be considered.
Madam President, I'm not trying to start a brouhaha here, but as Mr. Hilbert said, and as I think most of us feel, we want to move this Boulevard project forward. Some people have said we're playing games. I don't consider any of this to be a game or gamemanship. What I'm trying to do, what I think is the right thing to do, is for us to begin to make progress on looking at this boulevard as the economic development driver that it should be. And we have put this off for years. And yes, plenty of people will say, oh, we put it off for years. Why not put it off for another 6 months? Why not put it off for another year? Let's study it. The longer we put it off, the longer we lose the revenue that we should be getting from that property. And my guess is that if we were sitting here with that property in Henrico or Chesterfield, we would not be playing with it for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years. We would be making decisions and moving forward so that we could improve our economic base. However, having said that, if it's too confusing to vote on it tonight, I'm happy to withdraw my motion. I'm happy to wait till January. However, I feel that due to Mr. Samuel's amendments, which I'm fine with more public comment, I think that's great, but that is going to slow the process down. We all know that there are certain things in play at the end of June, beginning of July, where there will be a great marketplace to bring this property to to developers and to real estate brokers to see what interest is out there in developing this property. For that reason, so that we can have more public comment and still meet our deadline, that is why I suggested that we go ahead and vote this paper.
What's your motion?
So are we still with the motion on the floor?
Just withdraw the motion.
That would not, I said I'd be happy to if that's the feeling of council. But we have the motion and a second, but first, my understanding is we
have to
need
deal with
to vote to,
There's a
Motion on the floor?
motion on the floor to continue the paper to the January 11th meeting.
right. Don't we have to do something about that?
I second.
Madam Clerk, can you call the vote on the motion to continue? Because that's where we need to start first.
Council's voting on the motion to continue item number 39 to the Monday, January 11th, 2016 meeting. Mr. Bilal?
Aye.
Ms. Graziano?
No.
Mr. Samuels?
Aye.
Mr. Agelasto?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
No.
Ms. Trammel?
Aye.
Ms. Newbill?
No.
Vice President Hilbert?
No.
President Mosby?
No.
That motion has failed.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion on the floor to the paper today.
But you've gotten it back to May. You're back to June. Is it good?
Madam President, I think we need to hold a public hearing.
We need to hold a public hearing
Is there anybody that's...
Before we actually vote on this paper, because there hasn't been
We'll
one.
have the paper here today. Okay. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition of the paper?
I mean, Harry Warner.
This is not a good thing.
Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the paper?
5 more votes for another year. That's insane. That is the wrong.
Bring it back to council for discussion.
I would like to point out that one person who recently made a proposal for the Boulevard site was here a few hours ago, about 4, maybe 5 hours ago. They may have had a desire to speak publicly about this, but they will not get the chance now because we did this at 5 till 11 at night.
Thank you, Mr. Samuels. Madam Clerk, please call the question.
Council is voting on item number
Can we
39.
have discussion?
That what?
There's no public hearing. Has that question been called?
It was.
Yes. Mr.
And there's been nobody from the public who's interested in coming at 11 o'clock. When an hour ago it was discussed that we would in fact be continuing this. And so, I'm just going to reiterate, I cannot imagine that this is good government. I cannot imagine that this is representative of the people's interest. What I am truly watching, we just had a 5-4 vote. I said before we had the vote, it was going to be 5-4. If we continue to have 5-4 votes, the direction of this city is not providing certainty. Developers want certainty. That's the number one thing that they want when they put in a proposal to do a project. And if everything that is coming out of this body is 5-4 on this major project, you better believe that developers are going to be wary. The reasons for why we're at this stage now aren't reasons that the council can be held accountable for. A proposal to develop the Boulevard before a baseball stadium in Shaka Bottom was proposed, that's not what this council proposed. That's not our issue. A request for a children's hospital to delay action on this was not council's issue. The delays are not ours, and it's certainly not the public's. And to put that on the public back, I think is just a slap in their face. I'm sorry, but if this is going to be asked to vote forward tonight, I won't vote for it. I'm sorry. I think that this process, and it's not the process of redevelopment of the Boulevard, it is the public process of making amendments, doing things at 11 o'clock at night, not advertising what we're doing, I think has a major slap at transparency. Number one thing, when you read about millennials, they want a transparent government. We're trying to attract millennials. The development of the Boulevard is supposed to attract more young people. Is that going to be the right signal? I don't think so. And I would certainly ask those who are inclined to support this to continue it again, but that motion has been defeated. And I will allow your constituents to then judge you on your actions. So I will be voting no.
Madam Clerk?
Madam President?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
Vice President Hilbert?
Thank you. I've seen a lot of tragedies around this building, but this isn't one of them. I mean, seriously, we've had serious issues here. We are opening up this process. We have made it more transparent, and let's just get on with it. I mean, this isn't perfect, no, but good Lord, let's just, people are sick and tired of this. Just get on with it and move forward. And I'll be happy to let my constituents know that we passed at 5 minutes till 11 or 11 o'clock, that we, one, opened up the process to make sure that no one who was part of the study is going to be part of the development, and two, we gave them a 60-day process. I'm sure people will be ready to run me out of office for that, but I'm going to take that chance. Thank you,
Madam President.
Ms. Robertson?
It is late, and I regret having to weigh in at this late hour, but I would like to say that, you know, I think the citizens are sick and tired of hearing us continue to delay making any decisions about the Boulevard. Most of you guys have talked about being on City Council for 12 years. I've been here 13 years, and it seems like we've been stuck in the same spot. We have two different proposals, papers before us as to how to move forward. I think that the council demonstrated tonight a willingness to support Mr. Samuels in his interest of amending a 5-page paper without any previous conversation to support his amendment as a friendly amendment to extend the time to make sure that transparency is being addressed. I saw that as an opportunity, as a demonstration of councils making a decision that's what's best as far as transparency and giving us more time to make sure that the public is engaged in the process. Mr. Parker, I would respect you when you were speaking. I appreciate the same. And so, you know, I think the citizens will be glad to know that we finally made a decision that we're going to move forward, that we are giving 6 months to put a plan together which is going to be transparent and citizens' participation throughout the entire process. And Madam President, I would ask that you call for the vote.
Madam President.
Mr. Blouses?
I'd like to disagree actually with Mr. Agelasto when he said that this is not good government. This is not even government. This is an abdication of our respect for the people that put us here, that pay for everybody in this building. This is, I don't know what this is, but you know, 3 years ago when I joined you all, I never thought something would come down to this when we're passing near midnight resolutions with no input. And using the excuse that this has gone on long enough, it's lasted forever. The mayor had a plan to put an RFP out and an RFQ out in April of 2014. He didn't do it. That wasn't our fault. He never did it. When Charles and I put the paper forward for the request for qualifications just to get the topic going again, we were told, can't do it. The Children's Hospital might go there. I got a text message from Mr. Cronenthal saying, you are going to destroy the future of the Children's Hospital if you don't continue this paper. And we continued it out of respect. And we continued it now for a record running, I don't know how many continuances. But we did it because we were asked to. We were asked to be civil. We were asked to give other projects a fair chance. And now we're saying, here's the plan. So Mr. Samuels or Mr. Agelasto was right a couple of hours ago, but he said, okay, this is going to be continued. And now at first it was rushed up, then it was going to be continued, and now it's being accelerated again with absolutely zero public input. That is a travesty. And I understand you can say that, well, we're going to have public input for 30 or 45 or 60 days starting in January. But we're approving some, no offense to Mr. Hilbert, I think one of your amendments was brilliant, but I think the public also ought to have a chance to weigh in on them before we approve them. And I think a couple of Mr. Samuels are equally as worthy, and I think the public should have a say. I think all of us, obviously it was confusing as hell. I mean, we kind of got a lesson on the fly, but to be able to get more information from both Mr. Hilbert and Mr. Samuels would be good. And that's just talking about us. We know how this internal process works. It's not always pretty. It's usually cordial. But now we're just telling the public to stick it. It's embarrassing. It's not what I thought or what I think this council or this government or this city should be about. It's definitely not transparent.
Madam President, I just want to say one thing, that I think this is wrong what we're doing tonight by leaving the citizens out, because that's one thing. We didn't put ourselves up here in these seats. The citizens did. And it's not just the voters in our district. It's just not them. It's people all over that knows us, that helped. I know myself helped me get back in my seat in 2006. And that's one thing I've always said. I did not want to leave the citizens out when it came to something very, very important as this. And to me, I feel like we have basically slapped them in their face and told them that their comments, or for them to be here tonight, we don't need them, because we're going to do what we want to do. And to me, that is wrong.
Thank you, Ms. Trammel. Madam Clerk?
Council is voting on item number 39, resolution number 2015-R65, as amended. Mr. Blouses?
Hell no.
Ms. Graziano?
Wonderful, yes.
Mr. Samuels?
No.
Mr. Agelasto?
No.
Ms. Robertson? Ms. Trammel?
No.
Ms. Newbill?
Aye.
Vice President Hilbert?
Aye.
President Mosby?
Aye.
That paper has been adopted as amended.
All right, Madam Clerk.